Hi, guys. Thanks so much for joining for this special episode of the E&M Pod. I am so grateful we're joined by therapist Laurie Gerber. You may have seen her on a TED Talk and multiple media outlets. I picked her up on an MTV special as well. She is so gifted at walking people through the ups, downs, and nuances of developing intimacy closely. And we are talking about the art and science of truth telling with her in your relationship. So I know it took courage to press play on this episode. Thank you. You will not be sorry you did. This is a worthy interruption. Laurie is going to walk you through how to make sure you can safely and peaceably begin to be more honest together, more authentic and healthy, so that you're not having to look through this myopic lens of not telling the truth and then later having your spouse, which I hear all the time about in sessions, find out anyway. So I love for you to be able to do your work around this topic and to come back together in truth. So let's welcome Laurie right now. Laurie, thank you so much for joining us for the Enneagram and Marriage Pod today.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we are delighted to have you. You are an amazing coach. I've actually gotten to watch you in action as I got to share about you before you came on today with our listeners. And I am so happy to have seen you on MTV. Here you are all over the place, you and your husband helping people, right? Sometimes he helps too.
Sometimes he helps too. He's not just the wind beneath my wings. He is also a very effective coach himself. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Wingman and coach. And you are so kind that you are going to share with us about honesty in relationships today. But also, you took the Enneagram for us, and our listeners are dying to hear your types.
Okay. So forgive me if I get the lingo wrong, but I'm a 6 and he's a 2, according to my research and
Um,
understanding of our us and our 30 years together. When I read about what it's like for those 2 to come together, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that explains everything. I didn't even have to know anything about my relationship. I could just read what this is. But just
Oh,
in terms of, how seriously we take things, how diligent we are, how dutiful we are,
yeah.
how I'm kind of like need my space. He's more about being together.
Yeah.
Like everything from what works to what doesn't work was kind of spot on.
Oh my
Um, yeah, I'm just trying to think. Like we share duties well. We run a family beautifully. Like I call it nerd love. We have all these
God.
structures and spreadsheets and rituals and practices and family gatherings, and it's just all we
Mm.
obviously are playing to our strengths quite a bit. And we love our domesticity. Like I'm going out tonight for the first time in, I don't know, months, and it's like, "Really? I'm going out, really?" Like, oh my god, I just want to be home with
Oh,
my
you named it. These types love home, family, hosting, just togetherness. Both of these types do. So that's one of the greatest reasons you run so well together. Ah, I love that you shared that and that you're actually, we often talk about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy, and you guys, they have done their work. And as you hear, Lori's going to help us too, so they can climb these platitudes together and be tracking together. That's beautiful.
you. I didn't realize, like I like to give credit to all the healing work we've done and all the growth work
Yes.
and all the research and all the learning and all the practice and all the hard times we've been through and all that.
Yeah.
But again, we just picked well. We really
Yeah.
did pick
Yeah,
in terms
you really
of
did.
basic compatibility of what worked. And this is what I teach my clients, like pick compatibility with
Mm.
what works about you and also pick
Mm.
compatibility about what doesn't work about you. Like your
Mm.
liabilities have to be compatible as well as the things that are great about you.
Oh my gosh, that's a great reminder. And guys, for those who are not married, as you're already hearing today, Lori is a wealth of knowledge for those seeking to be empowered in their dating life and choices as well, right?
Right. Yes. I like
Oh.
I deal with love from soup to nuts, from the beginning to the end.
Well, and as a 6, I know you're learning Enneagram lingo, but our audience is very rich in the lingo, generally speaking. And the 6 really espouses a lot of wisdom and superior intelligence and holds a lot of information very well.
That's true.
Yeah. So I
I have more content than you have time for. That is
that's
true.
that's exactly how, because people wonder, how do you do this? Well, she's a thinking type. She's cerebral. She's right in the center of the thinking type. So when she's awake to it and is able to track and allow for worry to kind of have its space too, because of course you're going to have some of that, then she's thriving. She's got her peace, she's got her productivity, she's got her ways to get her outlet. So, sixes, be encouraged. You guys are amazing when you can track well, and none of us are amazing when we can't, right? Let's be honest, there's shadows for all of us. But Lori, you have really done a beautiful job, and I got to see it, like I said, live in action. The compassion you have is so huge too, not just thinking, but heart space. Obviously, that's your hubby rubbing off on you too, but you also have a huge heart. So tell us a little bit about just your passion for the work as we get started with hearing about the art and science of honesty together. Just what's your passion? Why do you love this work?
You know what's funny is I came to coaching myself looking for help with my
Mm,
career. Okay.
mm,
That's what I thought I needed. I went in
yeah.
all head.
Yeah. Yeah.
My coach, whose name is Lauren Handel Zander, she created the
Mm,
Handel method, which is the method that I teach from. She took one look at my entire life and she said, "You're tanking your marriage. Are you really okay
wow.
with losing that? Because I kind of think it's your foundation and I kind of think it's important to you, and you might want to pay attention to that first. I don't even think you can really think straight about your career until you get your basics, you
Yep.
know,
That
right."
foundational level. Yep.
And that blew my mind. So after years of personal growth and courses and books and gurus and yoga and meditation and therapy,
Yeah.
she was the first person who ever looked at me and said, "You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna lose, like you're gonna have a major consequence if you don't turn things around." And that woke me up completely.
Mm,
That turned my ears on because I was like, she knows something I don't know, and that's rare because
yeah. Yeah,
I'm very,
exactly. You
I'm
know
very
things.
educated. I'm very intelligent, as you pointed out. And she was smarter and she knew more.
She
And she
had
was
gut intelligence. I saw her on the MTV and I said, I think she's an eight, the protector, the defender, the person who is really able to clarify well that strength. I don't know if that's the same woman, but I
it
think it's
was
her.
incredible how
Yeah.
she sliced and diced
Yes.
a very smart sex. And then she
Mhm.
and then she did something that is now what I think I do that is exceptional, which is she hit me in the heart, the head, and the body.
Oh my
So
gosh.
she
Yeah.
pierced my
Oh,
heart and was like, "You need to care." And for the first time, I was like, "Oh, I do care because I don't want that consequence."
yeah.
And then she said, "You need to think completely differently. So those theories you have right now that you're proving true, that's unconscious
Mm,
bias. That's not
yeah.
really true. You
Yeah.
need to stop collecting that evidence and start collecting this evidence." She was like, "Your husband's not an idiot. You did
Yeah.
marry him for a reason, and he does love you.
Oh my
All
God.
that other stuff you're saying is BS. Cut it out.
Mm,
You're gonna ruin it. He's not gonna wait. He's not gonna wait forever for you to be nice
yeah.
again."
Yeah.
And then she made me change.
Ooh.
She literally made me change in my heart and soul and body.
Oh my God.
Stop interrupting him, start having sex with him again, listen when he talks, respect what he has to say. And I couldn't argue. Those seemed
Yeah.
like decent things to ask for from a wife. I could, he wasn't abusing me. He wasn't neglecting me.
Yeah.
He wasn't unattractive. He wasn't doing to help. I had no legitimate complaints
Yes.
when it came down to it. So
Mm.
I couldn't
Yes.
argue with her that he deserved those things. And as soon as I started to give him those things, everything changed radically and indelibly. And that was 20 years ago. And it only gets
Mm.
better every day now.
Wow. Oh, how
Yeah,
encouraging that you
that's my
shared.
passion.
Wow. Yes, well, we
Yeah.
can see why. And now, I mean, you're just thriving, and now we see the backstory. It isn't just like 0 to 100 in a day you did your work, but you also had a really good coach and you've become an amazing coach yourself. So, many of us, as you know, our listeners included, just know that truth telling is a hard point in this world. There's a lot of sensitivity, even amidst marriages. So, tell us about the art and science of honest relationships and a little bit about why you think people are so afraid of telling the truth, even in this space of marriage.
Well, to be clear, we lie from day one. We might even lie before day one. I'm not even sure that the kicking that the babies do in the utero is honest, right? Like,
Yeah.
they've done studies that show that pigeons lie, right? That if you do a certain experiment and pigeons are rewarded for a particular behavior based on a particular input, they will lie and pretend like they had the input to get the cookie. So, and we know that babies lie. We know they go, "I didn't do it."
Yeah.
We know they do, right? And they cry, fake cry. I mean, so anyone who's been around a child understands that lying starts at a young age. It's not just because other people lie around you, although they do. It seems to be almost hardwired to us as much as eating and sleeping and all the other things. So we are in a predicament if we are trying to live an honest life and find other people to live an honest life too.
Oh my gosh, you're just kind of at the same time as waking us up with your truth, also comforting us to know like there's nothing weird about you if you married somebody in that attraction phase and sort of priming them and auditioning and displaying. But yeah, you didn't put out all your cards, right?
Yeah. And it's such a shame too, because like I said, that liability compatibility is so
Yeah.
important. So
Hmm.
the joke is so on you that you're trying to hide your liabilities until way later, like until everyone's invested and no one will pull out.
Yeah.
We won't mention our liabilities till like month 8. Like
Mhm.
that's such a backward way to do it. So why we lie though is twofold. There's like a bratty part and a chicken part, right? So the
Mhm.
bratty part is we want to get our way. Why does a kid say I didn't do it? They don't want to get in trouble. They
Yeah.
want to get the extra cookie. They want to,
Yeah.
you just want what you want when you want it and you really think if you lie you'll get it. So there's the
Yeah.
bratty part and then there's the fear of if I don't fit in here,
Mm.
I'll be rejected or I won't be loved. I'll be cast aside. So there's
Yeah.
like a really sad part and a little bit of a sick and controlling,
Yeah.
manipulative part for
Yeah, you're like you could be very cheeky or, really wrong, or you could also just be really afraid. Both can be
the
true.
problem is whatever your impetus is, whether it's for, a sort of a personal gain or to avoid the potential of a personal loss,
Yeah.
it's still unfair to the person you're lying to.
Yeah.
It still doesn't let them
Oh,
have an relationship with you. So it's
yes.
problematic either way, even though I think it's quite forgivable and
Yeah.
understandable, it does mess up dreams.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us more about how it blocks our dreams when we're not sharing and when we're in the shadows.
Yeah. Well, one of the side effects of keeping secrets or lying is you won't feel like you know yourself. You'll lose the ability to know your own mind, to make the
Mhm.
decisions. That's number 1, because if you're in the practice of being whoever you need to be for other people, you will lose yourself or never develop
Yes.
yourself. For kids who
Yes.
are trying to please a parent, that happens very young. They literally never learn who they are. They're
Mhm.
always relational to the parent, trying to please the parent. So
Mhm.
that's a big bummer. But the other
Mhm.
thing is you will also never feel loved, because if it's not the real you showing up,
Yeah.
how would you, if the person loves you, you wouldn't trust it anyway. So either you're
Oh,
not
that's a good point.
or you get loved, but you're like, "Well, they don't love the real me."
Oh,
So
yeah.
there you don't ever get that intimacy, you feel numb, you feel cold, you feel disconnected, you question everybody, you don't trust other people because
Mm.
you're lying, so they must be.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of a very, very damaging package all around.
Mm. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And you're really highlighting some of our types. I know just listening and saying, oh my gosh, yes, you named what I'm afraid of in my marriage. And even some of the sessions this week I've watched this play out as I know you have too. And just really thankful that you're here to help people to take that step closer to truth. Because as you said, it's a cascade of just liabilities when we don't. And you are reminding everybody you're not alone. So tell us when we're in that phase of deceit and we want so desperately to come out of it. What are some things we can do? Maybe starting with something small first so that people can get that first little win.
And the Handel method is an entire methodology developed at MIT and
Mm.
Stanford
Oh
that is
my gosh.
essentially teaching people how to tell the truth. I mean, if you really boil it down, it's teaching people how to
Okay.
tell the truth. So it would take me a long time to
Yeah.
take you through exercises, but I think one of the first exercise we do with all our clients, which I think is so profound, is we ask you, what's a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 for you in each area? Love, sex, romance, personal relationship to self, time, spirituality, learning, home, money, career, health, body, right? So across all
Mhm.
areas, what's a 10 for you? So right there, people are like, I don't know. Like I never thought about my truth. No one
Mm,
ever asked me, and certainly no one ever asked me about everything, right?
yeah.
Maybe someone asked me in career at my job, or maybe,
Yeah.
my partner
Yeah.
asked me one, but nobody asked me about all of it. So that's the
Yeah.
first truth. And then
Mm,
you say, okay, if that's a 10, where are you now? That's the second truth telling. If
yeah.
that's a 10, are you at 4? Are you at 2? Are you at 6? Like how happy are you really? Because when I did that assignment, I didn't even know I was going to have to talk about my marriage. I didn't
Mm,
even know I was going to have to say, oh, a 10 would be intimate and connected and loving. Oh, currently I'm at a 4.
mm.
Whoops. with 2 young children at home and
Yeah. Mhm.
whatever, like a 4 was like a truth bomb for me.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then the third piece of truth is why? Like, what are you saying about it? What is the BS you're saying in your head that's keeping you at a 4? Right. And so that's the
Mhm.
next round of truth telling. And then there's like, just make a
Wow.
list of the things you're lying about. And you can watch my TEDx
Mm.
talk about that. I list all the
Yeah.
different ways we lie. What, and then if you even just take one, right? Like I had a client, just circle back to someone and say, I'm upset you missed my birthday, or I
Mm.
really wanted you to return that sweater, or you know what, I don't like it when you touch my hair. Like just
Mm.
you can even just do one and live to tell the tale.
Mm.
Then you have evidence in the column, the truth doesn't kill me. The truth
Yeah.
doesn't cause me rejection. So I would recommend any truth you can like start with. I started with I decided I wasn't going to pretend I understood things that I didn't. So if someone used a
Mm.
word I didn't understand or had an accent I didn't understand what they said, or made
Mhm.
an allusion to something I didn't that I was not ever gonna pretend again that I knew what they meant, and even that was, like, radical
Yeah,
to
that
stop
is.
people and go, "I didn't understand that, could you explain it?" People are like, "What? Who is
Yeah.
this creature? Who is
Yeah.
this alien asking to actually understand what I'm saying?" So
Right,
you
right.
start anywhere you feel comfortable because that will start to prove to you that it doesn't make you unlikable, it doesn't kill you, and it actually gets you more of what you want, not less of what you want, most often. It's
Mm.
actually the only thing that gives you a chance of getting what you want.
Mm. Yeah, you're reminding us that we're disarming people at first with our truth because they're not used to it either. As you said, if everyone's doing it since they're babies, people don't expect that kind of authenticity. And so that when you are, at first, it may be scary and maybe remove people who aren't on the growth journey. But if they're willing to step in with you, it's like now you have a chance for a much deeper bond.
Right, and you start with truths that are like, "I got my feelings hurt," or "I was
Yeah.
wondering what you really think about this," or "What's your dream for that?"
Mm.
Like, one of the conversations I had with my husband, first one I had in coaching was, "I
Mhm.
have this dream about a relationship, but I don't know why we don't have it. What do you think?" And
Yeah.
that was such a vulnerable, honest
Yeah.
conversation, but
Yeah.
it was only a question. So it was pretty safe, right? It wasn't like I was going, "Hey, I've been cheating on you." It
Right.
was a
Yeah.
safer place to start, but it
Yeah.
just opened up a new level. And I tell my
Mhm.
daters to do that on day 1, 2, and 3. You don't have to wait until you're 7 years into a marriage to say, "Hey,
Yeah.
I like honesty. What about you? I like telling what I really think and feel. What about you?"
Yeah.
And see how deep you can go, how fast, because
Mm.
see how deep you can go, how fast, because then you're gonna find out quicker anyway, whether or not you're a good
Yeah.
match or how to be a
Yeah.
good match.
Yes, and that's really helpful for those of you who are out there thinking, "I wanna find that relationship, but I also wanna make sure that I don't find the wrong relationship." And so I love that you're weeding out, you're stepping in where needed. What about when the person says, I really like you and I hear your authenticity, but I just don't agree with it, or I'm so different from you, or they take that step away and it's your spouse and you're like, oh crap, I just told you the truth and you took a step away. Does that happen sometimes when people are starting this out?
Yeah. I mean, it is the reason people don't do it is because they have some reason to believe
Yeah.
that someone told the truth once and it got them rejected or somebody
Mm,
left because of it. But what
mm,
I have to say to you, if that is your fear, is
yeah.
the irreconcilable difference exists whether you acknowledge it or not.
Mm, yeah.
Period. Right? So you can avoid it, you can deny it, you can cover it up, you can lie about it. But if there is an irreconcilable difference, in my humble opinion,
Yeah.
it is better for you and the other person to discover it sooner, to address it sooner, to tell the truth about it sooner, because
Yeah.
usually only more damage is done when we avoid it.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to get it done in the first few days,
Mm,
right? If it's going to be an irreconcilable, like I don't agree with the idea of truth telling from
yeah.
one of my daters would be like, okay, you're not for me.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
or I don't agree with living in New York, or I don't agree with
Yeah.
having children, or,
Right.
if there's a very clear, "I don't agree," you should really listen and honor that.
Yeah.
It's a very bad bet to try to change somebody.
Mm,
Get someone to tell you the truth that they don't agree, that's awesome, right? That's a gift, right? That helps you abort the mission sooner. Now, when it's somebody who's in your life and you can't say goodbye to them, they're your mother, father, sister, brother,
mhm,
child, right?
mhm.
Then when they disagree, you also think it's a benefit because at least they're talking and at least they're telling
Yeah.
you the truth. What I've learned is if you learn how to do a difficult conversation well, and there's
Mm,
a science and an art to it, as you've said, if you learn how to do it well, even if you disagree, it brings everyone to higher ground
mm,
because you do not need to agree with everyone in your life. Not at all. You really don't. My husband
mhm.
and I have
Yeah.
very different parenting styles. I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that. I am. Our kid needs both. I agree to disagree and I do what I do and he does what he does and we don't undermine each other, but it's you don't need to agree with the people that you love and you don't need to agree to have a wonderful life.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, we can do our own authenticity, but doing that openly is so much more preferred than what people are going to do anyway. That's what Lori is saying, guys, is you're going to be you anyway, even if it's under wraps, because we can't not be ourselves. So you might as well tell the people closest to you, give them the opportunity to love you for who you are versus somebody that you're not. So beautiful. And also, like you said,
Exhausting to be
healing.
someone you're not. It really
Yes.
is so
Yes.
exhausting.
Oh my gosh. It is so I'm so welcoming to this. If this podcast wasn't called The Enneagram in Marriage, it would be called The Authentic Marriage because that's so meaningful. And of course, we know sometimes authenticity and openness are the right moment. Sometimes we need diligence. And as you said, loyalty, even when we're not exactly the same. So authenticity doesn't mean that our partner has to be just like us. It means that they have to respect us if they want to spend time with us. So how do we share and you already said sometimes you can share space with people who don't agree with you, but how do we share space if we're in that awkward dance of trying to truth tell and our partner's like, I'm just kind of reeling. You just told me something huge. I'm thinking a lot of our listeners are going to try to take not just a baby step, but I know some of them from previous podcasts have told me sometimes they're like, I just took a big step. I just told somebody about a previous affair, something huge, a huge financial issue. Like, what do you recommend for that stage in between when it's
Well,
awkward?
first of all, you should always get consent, right? Everybody understands consent now.
Yes.
Ambushing someone with a truth is the same as physically ambushing someone. You don't really get to do
Mm,
that without consent. So you really
yeah,
do have to get the invitation. I have something important to tell you. You
yeah,
might have a reaction. I'm a little embarrassed about it. I
yeah,
don't know what I really don't know what you're gonna think. I've been hiding it because I was afraid, but I want to tell you
yeah.
is now right. So you have to give a warning. You have to have them
Mhm.
if they're tired, if they've been drinking, if they're not in a private
Mhm.
space, if they
Yeah,
don't have the time is not the time to do that. Or if they just don't wanna know.
yeah.
Really.
Mhm.
You're not entitled to tell someone without their consent. So that's first of all.
That's great.
Second of all, I want you to process it with a coach or a therapist first, so you're not dumping it on someone else. This is not like dump
Mhm.
your guilt on someone else and feel better. This is own your life, own your experience, be able to talk maturely about what you think, feel, experienced, went through and
Mm,
then get their reaction. So if you're still in an emotional state or you're defending yourself or you're in a drama about it, that's between you and a coach or a therapist. That is not yet
yeah.
material that you should share with your partner until you are ready to do it in a way that will not bring harm to the partner.
Mm,
That's
thank
what I
you.
think. So those are some precautions to take. And then you really don't have control over how it goes. It is a risk. We don't
Yeah,
know. Again,
yeah.
my experience is if you do it well, if you follow the steps, 97% of the time it brings you to higher ground, regardless of whether they
Mm,
agree or not, regardless of whether
mhm.
you get satisfaction in that moment. They
Right.
might go, I often respond to my husband, I disagree, you're wrong. And then a day later, I'm like, okay, you were completely right.
Yes, people do that a lot, and I often say that too, like, "Give it
Yeah.
time, we come in defensively, but the
And
next day."
exactly. So that's really hard, especially for us nervous types, right? Who want
Yes.
it all resolved right now.
Yeah.
So, but again, you give it a day, you give it a week, you allow space. I'll tell you one crazy story just to illustrate this point. When I was about 40, I decided to have a third child.
Mhm.
And I told my mother, and she said, that's a bad idea.
Mm.
And I was mortified. Like I couldn't
Oh,
believe my mother was telling me I disagree with your life. I might have already been pregnant. Like I don't
yeah,
even know
yeah.
at what point this was, but it was like not the right thing for her to say, in my opinion. And I just used all my tools. I just took my deep breaths and I was like, there's must be some reason she's saying this. I know she loves me. Where's she coming from? Right. And I just said, Mom, where are you coming from? And she had layers, as people often do when they're telling the truth,
Yeah.
it's sort of peeling an onion. So, it's just, you're almost out of the woods with your older kids and it's old for you to have a child. And I don't know. I just have had such a good time with my other four grandchildren. And ultimately, so after I've had such a good time with my other four grandchildren, and finally she unraveled herself to the point where she's like, I really feel like I was a good grandmother to the first four, but I'm old now and I don't think I can be as good a grandmother to this.
Mm.
And I just wept. I was like, that
Yeah,
is sad. And
yeah,
so and I really could get she just
yeah,
didn't she
yeah.
wasn't she wasn't planning for a fifth grandchild.
Yeah, yeah.
She did get sick and
Oh,
tired and old, and
yeah.
she was the same kind of grandmother. That's all actually true.
Mhm.
She it, but she's a great grandmother, and she's alive, bless her heart. But she, honest to God, said something mean or said something that I disagreed with or that hurt my feelings. And the real truth behind it was something I could have compassion for and connect with her on, not hate her for. But if I hadn't been patient and let it air and been curious, I wouldn't have had that. And I think your partner is that person that you get to do that with
Mm,
time and time again. And that is what makes that relationship so special is you say,
mhm.
this is going to be my person where I'm going to get to the bottom of it every time.
Yeah.
And we're going to have all of that work in our in our backpack. We're gonna have all of that in our experience together to make us stronger, to make us more connected, to make us more special to one another. It's not what tears us apart. It's what actually builds us up is
Mhm.
going through those rupture
Mm.
repair experiences. So I think that's the opportunity of being partnered with somebody
Oh. Oh.
besides your mother.
Oh, I love that. That was literally so well said. I think you're right. And I think that you're helping us to know, even if our partner is in that space of like, I'm not ready yet, or you're not ready to tell because you're slightly unhinged, it's like, make sure you're well. Don't just keep it in the shadows. See a therapist, see a coach. And I really love, I know this is a shorter episode today, but I love for people to find you, Lori, because you do have the system, you do have the method, you do build the values to find out who people are at the beginning. And then you do help them with your programs to step into truth and to do this rupture, then repair and step a lot more closely like you and your husband. So, how can everybody find you? And what would your recommendation be for where they begin?
Awesome. LaurieGerber.com is the
Lori
easiest.
Gerber. Okay.
Laurie Gerber, like the baby food. Laurie
Oh,
Gerber. I know young
yeah.
people might not get that illusion. BER. So LaurieGerber.com, you'll see mostly my work with daters because that's just what's on the website right now primarily. But I do all coaching for all humans, individual couples and daters and really all ages and genders, honestly. So I'm good for everything, but you'll get a good sort of sense if you look around there. You'll find out how to get a free consultation with me. You'll
Oh,
take my free quiz. You'll get a free master class. There's tons of free stuff on there and ways to potentially follow up for more depth if
oh
you
my
want.
gosh. Thank you. And that is one of the benefits of working with the six is you have so many beautiful
Yeah.
gifts, paid and
I'm
unpaid.
not
Thank
leaving
you.
anyone out.
I love it. Well, thank you, Lori. What a blast today. I've treasured this time and will be sure to send people your way.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Hello, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. And also, I know this episode took courage. That's the virtue of the six that Lori brings. And it's also a virtue that we can all espouse when we lean in to do the hard but worthy work of connecting deeply together. So take one thing from today's episode, move forward with it. We're going to finish up on one of our series that we've been starting on Wednesdays next week. But I really wanted you to get this one today because this is coming into my sessions all the time. So, so helpful to share it out here with you too. Have a wonderful week. Bye bye.